All right, how are you all doing today? Good. Well, we've been hearing a whole lot about Jesus lately. A whole lot about Jesus between Easter, Palm Sunday, Holy Week, all that. So I thought I'd get us going with a story about a man in his own quest to find Jesus. So, this is a man who had just a touch too much to drink. He was filled with spirit, you might say. So there he is, stumbling along one Sunday afternoon down by the riverside, and he comes across a Baptist service at the river doing baptisms. Being a friendly, sociable fellow, he proceeds to walk right down to the water and stand next to the preacher. The minister turns and sees the old drunk and says to him, "Mister, are you ready to find Jesus?" The drunk looks back and says, "Why, yes, preacher, I am." So the minister takes him and dunks him under the water, pulls him right back up and says, "Have you found Jesus?" "No, I didn't," said the drunk. So the preacher dunks him again, a bit longer this time, brings him back up and says, "Now, brother, have you found Jesus?" "No, I have not, Reverend." Well, the minister's getting frustrated, okay? He's never exactly had this much trouble with a baptism before, okay? So he's really going to do it this time. He keeps him down for a good 30 seconds, okay? Holding him down there, all that, okay? He pulls him back up and says, in exasperation, "Finally, brother, for heaven's sake, have you found Jesus yet?" The old drunk wipes his eyes, coughs and sputters, and says, "Are you sure this is where he fell in?" I personally don't think that's the best way to find Jesus, but if it works for you, I am so glad. So, this is really the time of year to be reflecting on the life and teaching of Jesus. And it's been on my own heart and mind a lot because I'm getting ready for that new Power Hour, all about the metaphysics of Jesus. If you're interested, by all means, come and join us. But what's really on my heart this morning, what I want to share, are some ideas that have been stirred up with all this Jesus talk we've been doing. I have this question that keeps coming back to me. What is it today? What is it that makes the life and teaching of Jesus so relevant today? Okay? Especially for those of us who are seeking a progressive, positive, practical spirituality like we have in Unity. We don't seem to have all that much in common with our fundamentalist friends. You won't see any full immersion dunkings at Unity, okay? We're not having our next service down by the riverside. That's just not us. You might see us on a cruise. We had a good cruise earlier this year. I heard some people were filled with spirit of their own on the cruise. But we'll pass on the dunking. Thank you very much. So, what does that mean? What does it really mean to be a follower after Jesus? We've all heard the fabulous music right now. Jesus said we can do greater things than he did. What in the world does that mean? That's a pretty tall order. And how can we discover this power within, the Spirit within? So I'm going to begin by making clear what I'm not talking about when it comes to the inspiration and wisdom I find in Jesus' teachings. I can really understand why more and more people may have difficulty calling themselves Christian nowadays. I can. Christians in our culture are very dominant, very vocal, and very firm on what they call the fundamentals of Christianity. Specifically, as it relates to Jesus and his teachings, Christianity is a religion all about Jesus, all about how Jesus sacrifices your one and only way to avoid hell. In Unity and New Thought, we see hell as just useless, unnecessary suffering that you can face and overcome. That's not what they mean. They mean a very real, literal place of permanent pain and suffering. And Jesus in this religion about Jesus is your one and only way to avoid that. This is what Eric Butterworth calls, in the Discover the Power Within You, calls the religion about Jesus. Religion about Jesus is all about worshiping Jesus as your Savior because Jesus saves you from God's punishment. Because, of course, in this religion about Jesus, God has a temper, and you have to be saved from him. And it's always a he in the religion about Jesus. We can let that go as well. You see, in the religion about Jesus, the goal is something like fire insurance. Fire insurance. The purpose of the religion, purpose of going through the ceremonies and prayers is to avoid punishment. Fire insurance, just in case. Who wants that in their religion? Maybe we don't want anything to do with this Christian stuff. Doesn't have much to do with the new thought wisdom, I know. Doesn't lead to personal growth. Doesn't lead to changing your thinking through changing your life. It certainly doesn't lead to peace that passes understanding if you're living on the edge, always worrying if you paid the bill on your fire insurance. Here's another feature you'll find in the religion about Jesus: dogma. Dogma. Religion about Jesus has all kinds of nice, neat, concise answers to your questions. They see the Bible as a rule book, completely glossing over all those statements, contradictory statements it makes throughout. Do you remember our sermon last week? Reverend Paul talked about the 4 different Easter stories. The Bible's full of contradictions, just like that. In the religion about Jesus, if 2 passages seem to disagree, well, that sounds like a you problem. You must not be interpreting it correctly. There's a correct and narrow interpretation you're supposed to have in the religion about Jesus. And one more point, the religion about Jesus has creed, dogma. The Nicene Creed, you heard Paul talk about that about 3 weeks ago. I hope you'll bear with me if I make just one more point. For me, my biggest issue with it is the point where it talks about the life and teaching of Jesus, or rather, the fact that it doesn't talk about the life and teaching of Jesus at all. It says, Jesus was incarnate of the Virgin Mary, became man, was crucified, and died. That's it. He became man, he was crucified, and he died. Straight from the birth to the death. That's all you need to know, apparently, in the dogma of the religion about Jesus. The most important thing to know is that he died. That just doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me. I personally am much more interested in Jesus' life, Jesus' teachings, than his death. I want to learn how to see the world like he did. I want to sit at the feet of the Master and learn. A model for my own life. A model of love. A model of service. A model of how we can face and overcome any challenge, even death. So where does that leave us? Is there a different perspective, something different way to see what Jesus was all about? So Eric Butterworth, in his book, Discover the Power Within You, which we're studying next month, Power Hour, he shares a new insight in truth, a new insight into Jesus' teachings, a new spirituality. What made Jesus so important, what Jesus did for humanity, was to make a great discovery. Jesus discovered the power within him. Jesus discovered the power within all of us. The only power. One presence. One power. Jesus discovered your own innate divinity. You see, as Butterworth explains, we've each created a wall in our minds. A wall that separates us from the divine. God is separate, apart, unreachable through this wall. That's the religion about Jesus. Jesus the exception. Jesus the exception who did what you can never do. This is a great, big, impossible wall in our consciousness that separates us from our own power. We create that whenever we believe in this separation from divinity. We create that whenever we see Jesus, the exception. So what can you do? Well, here's what Eric Butterworth says. Here's what Jesus discovered. This is a quote from the book. Jesus' discovery created a breach in the wall. In a way, he created a window in the wall, a great picture window through which we can view the vast and beautiful panorama of the spiritual dimension of life. A window in the wall, a way to see through. That's the power of Jesus' message. So what happened? How do we get from that wonderful spiritual truth, that way we can follow, to this religion about Jesus I was talking about earlier? Butterworth continues, in time the window became old, dusty, opaque. Now almost no one sees through the window. It's the object of worship instead of the medium. It's adorned with gold and gems. It's made into an altar. It's the focal point of worship in every home or cathedral. Millions upon millions of devotees through the ages come and kneel before the window, but only occasionally does a clear-minded thinker clean the darkened glass and look through. So Jesus' great discovery to the window of our power within became adorned with gold and gems, made into an altar. It became the cross. Christianity became a religion worshiping the window rather than actually trying to look through it themselves. What made Jesus so special, in my own and Butterworth's understanding, is that he taught people about their forgotten divinity, their divine power. Jesus was not the exception. We can absolutely do likewise. We can follow him. We can follow his way of seeing our divine potential. He broke that barrier between humanity and God. Following after him, we can do likewise. He recognized the divinity in all people, encouraging them to discover and realize the potential within themselves. Following after him, we can do likewise. Jesus said, very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these, because I go to the Father. That's the discovery, going to our indwelling divine parent. This means that if we believe in the way of Jesus, the way of our indwelling divine power, our indwelling Christ potential, if we believe we can see through the window in consciousness he created, we can become one in heart, mind, spirit, body with our indwelling divine parent. We can claim our innate divinity. So that religion about Jesus led to the establishment of various churches, dogmas, rituals, while the religion of Jesus is a personal and direct relationship with God. The religion about Jesus has been a source of division and conflict, while the religion of Jesus is unity and love. Unity, the religion of Jesus is unity. The religion of Jesus is unity. That's why we're called Unity. Charles Fillmore was seeking to believe and see and do as Jesus did. That's what it's about. Unity with spirit. All the power and possibilities you need are available to you right here, right now. Unity with all people everywhere means seeing the good with everyone. Everyone has sacred value. Unity with all things. Everyone and everything is part of this unity, this oneness. See this and know that you are always in unity with all that is. That's discovering the power within you, the knowledge that you are always connected. God is a presence that does not and cannot let you go because you are always in unity. The power of this way of thinking can completely change your life. It's one simple idea that changes everything. Just as soon as you remember, look through that window to the power within. And so I believe that there is plenty of space in unity and a new thought for people who call themselves Christian. I do. As Eric Butterworth teaches, Jesus discovered the power within him and taught us how to go and do likewise. That's one of the most metaphysical things I ever heard. Jesus was a mystic. Jesus was a metaphysician. And following after Jesus is absolutely a path to spiritual growth. I understand also, many people have been hurt, scarred, by those calling themselves Christian, following that religion about Jesus. That's not my story, but I know many people who've been hurt this way. For many people receiving end of this weaponized religion, they don't want anything to do with it again. I don't blame them. I do believe, however, that healing is possible, real healing, if you can try on a new thought about Jesus in Christianity. Try that religion of Jesus. He's inviting you to look into the window in your own consciousness. See the real. See your divinity. See the infinite possibilities of the divine potential within you. See it, and it will change everything. Change your thinking and change your life. I hope that unity as a movement will never become a religion about Jesus. Unity followers, however, will find lots of help and guidance on their spiritual journeys in the religion of Jesus. So I am proud to follow the way of Jesus. I'm willing to do as he did, to look through the window he created to the divine presence within. So I am proud to say that I call Jesus my Wayshower. And so it is.